Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy. It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
Backfired.
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news. Welcome to The Advocate, where we tell it as it is, no holds bar. I'll be kicking things off by saying it straight. A country deserves her police. It's full stream ahead as Ireti seizes the opportunity of Mother's Day to hold up the mirror to those who would undervalue women. Ekene too is highlighting a topical matter, and she speaks on behalf of career of people with autism. Uche, in her usual no-nonsense mode, is asking concerning Cardi B, whoever Cardi B is anyway, where is the Me Too movement where you need it? Chuka rounds things off by challenging why we use the words of others to make a point when you can speak for yourself. Make yourself comfortable, promises to be engaging her. A country deserves her police never made meaning to me until I listened to a former commissioner of police in Lagos, my very good friend, retired police commissioner Fatah Uche, discuss insecurity problem in Nigeria. In his words, the average police station in Nigeria gets 15,000 naira monthly as running cost. That's less than $50 and less than 1,000 naira a day to fare patrol vehicle. Just recently also, the acting Inspector General of Police in Nigeria, Abubakar Mohammed Audu, raised an alarm when he alerted the nation to the fact that only 20% of the entire police budget for 2018 has been released to the police. I hear you say budget when no first day enough. Not too long ago, a veteran journalist, broadcaster, Deji Badimosi, did an investigating pictorial story of the Nigerian Police College Ikeja. It was an eyesore. The dormitory was worse than prison. Yet that's the foundational institution of learning for our police. I wonder what they teach them in an environment such as that. I didn't need to wander far when I saw policemen buying uniforms, working materials, including statement forms and tables. The list is endless. Who will come to the rescue of the Nigerian police? Is it the police hierarchy who sees the current state of the police as an opportunity to further fleece the institution, or the politicians who care about themselves only? Blessed are those who will raise their voices to redeem the Nigerian police, an institution that wins laurel when they go for peace mission abroad, but have been reduced to a system of garbage in, garbage out here at home. For theirs shall be a safe country.
Yeah. Serious problem, because it's a countrywide problem. It's not just the police. Yesterday, I was just telling somebody that really, in the end, we should stop saying things like, NEPA isn't doing well, no light. Because, we say NEPA is not doing well, no light. Then somebody says, oh, the police, this or that. How could you have expected a country that doesn't have light, school, roads? What do you think the police will be? What do you think everything will be? Even in the private sector will be affected. So it's not just government. If I own a company, it will work less than it should, because I'm working in an environment that's lower and poorer and whatever. So let me admit it, I'm an architect. I'm sure the architects in London are performing in a manner, some things they come out with. If I come out with the same thing, you can't imagine how much work I had to do. To get there.
No, but the question I wanted to ask,
just to add to what you have just said, on a lighter note, somebody was querying why a ticket from Lagos to London would be far more expensive than London to Miami, which is a longer distance. And the agent said, well, in Nigeria, you pay for almost everything. You pay for your light, you pay for all those other services. They have to add it to be able to break even.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. But I was going to say, because you say a country deserves her police. Yeah. But my own angle is to say, whose fault is it? Because the country includes all of us who are also suffering the police. But at the end of the day, who has made the police who has put them in that predicament? Is it not the politicians? I'm sorry to use that famous line, but they're the ones undervaluing them. Really, they're the ones not paying them. Because when I looked at some of the images, I even saw some of the footage from the investigative journalistic work. I was just appalled. The fish head that 5 people are sharing, the state of their dormitories, the state of their lavatories. The thing was just appalling. So who is letting them live under those conditions and then releasing them to the public to go and terrorize us? Is it our fault? You see what I mean? Well, then the other side of it was to say, if you are, as a police person, you go into the police knowing that that's the condition of the police, that you're going in there with your eyes open, nobody tied you, nobody handcuffed you, and then you go in there to fleece people, then I'm saying to myself, sorry, the police force didn't make you the person you are. You went in there to fleece. If I take a job knowing that I only earn 15,000, then I go in there and say because of the job.
I think before you add to that, I want to quickly just add this line that where there are no jobs, where there are no alternative, you see that as a means to an end.
Yes.
And so you go in there. That's why the police attract. That's why I said garbage in, garbage out.
Correct.
That attracts the worst.
Okay, so let's that.
You were saying whose fault is it?
Yeah.
It's all our faults, actually.
Exactly.
We can't, even those of us that are not in charge of the funding or whatever, we still have a responsibility to play in this matter. If, for instance, we see that things are not going well with the police, rather than continuously, be derogatory towards the police, we could actually protest in favor of the police. We could raise the alarm that, look, be on the side of the police. I find that we are always very quick to say, police, they like to take bribes. But every time I hear that, I always say, but why wouldn't they?
Exactly.
They're not being paid.
Yeah.
They have families.
Yeah.
They're deliberately being underpaid because the government knows that they can go and make their money off the citizens.
Correct.
So why wouldn't they? Now you're saying these people that go in knowingly, because at least they know that there is a window of how to make some money.
Yes.
They know, yes, it's a rubbish profession. My 5 of us might share one fish head, but at some point they might be collecting 1K.
No, they still should take some blame for that
I think
attitude,
that's
really.
why I think you've been totally unfair, really. First of all, we have to agree that no child is born bad. Nobody is born bad.
Yes.
So children are born and then they become shaped by family, by experience, by environment, by community, etc. Even by world issues. Right. Now, so the average person that goes into the police, I refuse to believe they were garbage in the first place, as you're implying. I think what happens, I think what happens is, because the Nigerian police has been dehumanized over years, decades actually, not even years, decades, where slowly, and I think I forget the time where, and Liborous, you might be able to help me here, there was a time where one of the governments actually changed the way the police used to be the forefront, not the soldier. They used to be the soldiers, not the army. They used to be at the forefront of protecting the country. Yeah. And then at some point, it all changed. And as a result of doing that, their salaries, their benefits, their, where they live, their barracks, everything totally got, how'd you say, they just forgot it. Now, neglected. You say, what are we doing? If you remember, Fashola came in. Lagos State actually came in and changed the cost, changed the trust fund. Thank you. They brought out a police trust fund. That's part of what we are doing. Now, why are they collecting bribes? Let's look at the guy that was killed by SARS recently. The police are killing. That's a Kolade Johnson, right?
Johnson.
Yes, God rest his soul. The police are systematically themselves being dehumanized, yet we expect them to put their lives on the line for us. Why should they?
I don't even think we expect them.
No, but we do though, because that's the job of a police, is to protect and serve country first.
Yeah, in theory, but not.
That issue of garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Because if I give you a form now to join the police, you tell me, God forbid. Yeah. Do you know why? Because the condition of service is, not encouraging at all. And so, apart from the few good ones who, have a passion for proper policing, what you have is that it's only attractive to people who, feel there are no alternative. Or in some cases, you see a man who he grew up to be an armed robber and is looking for an opportunity to validate his trade. Yeah. He says, look,
that's the point you're making.
That's the garbage in and
no, I don't disagree with.
You find out that he, in some cases, even have to pay to join the police.
Yes.
And so he gets to that same police college.
Yes.
And he's given a gun.
Yes.
Few months after.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right. Yeah.
And I don't disagree with you that if you create a terrible condition, you're going to attract the worst of society. What I'm saying is those conditions were systematically put there over time in order to apply.
Right from the military era.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. In order to attract the worst of society. And I'm even saying to you today, here's something that's shocking. When a policeman's wife, when a policeman dies, it's his friends that bury him.
Oh, yeah, that's
They don't even give them. No, I'm talking to Ekene now. So you will be surprised at the terrible conditions those people are existing in. They don't. The country doesn't bury them.
No, I
they
saw
have to
some
bury
of
them
those conditions.
themselves.
No, it's not doubtless. Those
and
conditions
then
are
the
there.
widows are thrown out on the streets with the kids.
Yeah, no, those conditions are there. Doubtless.
So why should you expect the best in society to attract the best in society?
Nobody's even denying. I think we're all on the same page on that one.
Yeah,
So it's conditions.
Yeah, no, that's what we're saying. That it's actually
at the level of commissioner,
determined.
we had to contribute money to furnish his office.
There you
at
go.
that level
There you go.
of the police commissioner. The one in Alamo, the man virtually, had to, he was given a space, an eyesore, and he spent his money to refurbish it.
Yeah.
My friend Agu, in his barracks, he had to refurbish where he's living. In this police barracks.
I mean, what is coming to me really is the point Uche made, which, because I was going to say, look, whose fault is it? And I was going to stop there and sort of say, look, the people who are responsible for degrading the police force should really be the ones to answer that question. But there's a point now we're following, which is we have a part to play.
Yeah, we do. We all have a
can
part
play our part.
We just had an election.
Play.
We just had an election. Time is not our friend.
That was really interesting, actually.
Always interesting, and like they say, time runs fast when you're having fun. Okay, so I have to round off this section. Sit tight. Ireti will be holding up the mirror for us after the break.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
Really disastrous for a president
to even say
be unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy.
It could be a strategy.
That strategy was
Backfired.
terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news, and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
You're watching The Advocate on PlusTVAfrica. Time for a reality check. Starting with the man in the mirror, that's my subject today. Last Sunday's Mother's Day flooded the digital space with dozens of e-greeting cards and missives. One in particular got my attention. The gist of the write-up involved finger-pointing at Nigerian women. The author was talking about the underrepresentation of women in Nigerian politics. Here's a quote from the ill-informed writer. Gender equality does not just mean freedom to buy handbags, expensive gilets, hold elaborate hen nights in Dubai, and purchase expensive Gucci and Louis Vuitton handbags. It also means closing the gap in areas such as politics, commerce, sports, innovation, etc. Sigh. This is yet another man-spouting drivel that is not backed up by facts or deep insight. So here are a few points for us to consider before we applaud this ode to patriarchy and attack on women. It would be useful to ask the numerous organizations who have been working over the last 20 years to get more women into politics for their experience of the impediments and barriers to entry before you start mouthing off about women buying handbags. Their business, not yours. In the missive, the author cites as an example several countries, including Rwanda, which has the highest number of female parliamentarians in the world. Yet, like most of his ilk, he failed to outline the structural impediments that Rwanda has removed in order to have more women in parliamentary positions, and the political structure and clandestine activities that make it impossible for women to participate in political life in Nigeria, while also fulfilling their so-called feminine and mothering duties. A good space to start is to ask the HRs of many organizations why an equal number of men and women enter the workforce at the start of their careers. But as they progress, men climb the career ladder faster than women, and women, in fact, end up leaving the formal structure. Men work outside the home and get paid more. Women work outside and inside the home, unpaid and underpaid. The reality of the matter is women are doing an incredible amount of work that is unacknowledged, unpaid, and inglorious, what I call the triple burden of a woman. Maybe when more men are able to engage in as much work as women do in the care economy, as well as in the formal economy, we will see more women in the political arena. It's about time men stop preaching to women about what they are doing or not doing, and instead look at themselves. I want to see a man give birth, nurture, feed a community, and still have time to bring home the bacon. So next time, before you put pen to paper to blaming women, start by asking yourself, what are they doing right in other countries vis-a-vis what's not happening in Nigeria? Then present a rational and informed solution, followed by what you, the finger-pointing one, are going to do to change the climate for a balanced and equal playing field. So, dear Mr. Writer, I suggest you spend some time with your auntie Google. She's generous like that, and like most mothers, she'd be only willing to educate you. Happy Mother's Day once again to all our female viewers at home and abroad.
I nurture, I bathe
I mean, yes.
When my wife is sleeping,
yes,
I bathe my kid, prepare him for school. The other one's at boarding house. Prepare him.
Why are you laughing?
It's not like these two men suddenly feel they have to say absolutely. Me too.
Cook. And sometimes have my wife.
But let me make this point before Liborous.
But you're not that Mr. Writer.
No,
that's
what I am saying is, because
she wrote to Mr. Writer.
You made it look as if it's about men and women, and that's my problem.
But there are men who think like Mr. Writer. A lot of men are not like you in that way, Liborous. Neither are they like you.
You should have, divorced.
I did. I ended it with so, dear Mr. Writer.
Yeah.
So when
but it still comes
generalize,
it comes across as men.
Some of us also.
Because
exactly.
Because I was.
For me, sorry, quickly. Because for me, really, why I see some points in what he's saying. I see a lot of points in what you're saying also, but like I had consistently maintained. Those impediments, what are those impediments? Once you identify those impediments, and it's okay, let's begin to attack, those impediments and remove them. And then also, like I discussed with you earlier, let women also find a way of actually nurturing and encouraging.
Yeah, you and I discussed this last week about an organization.
You want to be involved and then help them grow. Yeah. And then also give credit, for God's sake. Give credit to some of us also.
Who are bathing your children.
Not just bathing our children, I don't see difference between a man and a woman. I see human beings. And so for me, what a woman can do, I can do. What I can do, if the woman can do it, fine. If she can't, fine. So it shouldn't be about the man, the woman.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but that would be stating the obvious.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the obvious.
But without me, you know the woman also. We need each other.
Oh, actually, you'll be surprised. Lots of women are actually now having children without men.
So a lot of men also are having children.
What do you mean
without women?
Oh, you mean artificial?
That was just being facetious. Go ahead.
Exactly.
No, back to the topic. Go ahead.
But I think, you seem like you were talking to all men, not that man, which is why we're getting ready for you.
It's amazing how
I have a metaphorical knife in my pocket.
They have such a thin skin.
No,
for years, women have been having fingers like this pointed at them.
No, I had a knife in my pocket.
A knife,
a metaphorical one, ready for you. But you have said it's Mr. Writer, because truly, I stand with Liborous actually. In my view.
I stand with Liborous.
Oh yes. That's it. That's the hashtag now.
Hashtag.
I don't see the difference like that between men and women, but I see many things that are so different about men and women that I just feel that many women are backing up the wrong tree with some of those things. Yeah. Now, we're not going to use this show to talk about that.
This episode at least.
Sometimes when I hear them speaking, I'm like, you can't be serious because you're not going to make it, even as a woman, on that argument you're arguing. You're a woman. This is what you're.
Please give us an example. Yeah, even I'm itching to find.
I was joking with some ladies the other day, we were in a very serious place. And then we finished what we were doing. So, well, not, And then I said, oh, can we take somebody said, can we have a group photograph? And I said, let's have a group selfie instead. I can't stand photographs. They're static. Yeah. So we're taking a group selfie. And every woman there, in spite of the seriousness of where we were all giving poses. One turned a little bit, behind. When they give you the back and side, no front again, so they have to turn the head. And I was like, and you want me to agree that you're fully ready for what we're doing?
What did that
it
pose?
Means that it brings up the Gucci handbag.
It means you're too preoccupied with looks. Things. So when you're
preoccupied with all sorts of things.
Does anyone have a bucket here for me to vomit into?
I will get you one.
You're moving us into dangerous
I will get you one. And then you find that it's not a good thing to show.
Yeah. What's not a good thing to show?
That kind of behavior.
What kind of behavior?
The behavior of the glamour queen.
What is wrong? Right now, I'm looking very glamorous.
Oh yes, now.
Right now, I'm looking very glamorous.
No.
And I'm talking
yes, now. I'm really ready to. I don't mind if there are 100 women out there. I don't really mind. No, not looking glamorous. Taking it beyond looking.
Ireti.
What?
You're looking glamorous. You're looking glamorous. You can take a photograph
like you're ready to work.
But the moment Chuka says, let's have a photograph, and then you have to turn to show, that your hem, that you demean the glamour.
Yeah.
Now,
are you even
demean the glamour to show that, look,
so many issues,
I have to. You must see this other side.
We've gone off track.
No, you know why you think we've gone off track? You think we've gone off track, but that's exactly what we need to do.
No, but we don't. This guy was talking at women.
No, don't mind.
Talking about handbags.
We have condemned
That's
the man.
my point.
We have condemned that.
You have condemned him. He's not part of us.
That man, if I catch him,
we have ignored him. What we are saying is that you don't need, quickly, Ekene, you don't need, when they want to say lady look beautiful, so she looks sexy, you don't need sexy to be beautiful.
Well, we know that, but
so
you tell me I look beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Now, you can see another woman and say you look sexy if you're familiar with her.
For a lady,
if you're familiar in that way.
Ladies, some people tend to mix the two. So for a lady, don't intentionally sell that sexiness as beauty.
That's what I think.
Okay, that's a side.
I need you guys to go. Sorry, I can't even.
I want to take us back to the reference. I want to take us back to the reference on Rwanda, and I want to say that that's a plus for me, and I think it's a plus we need to focus on here in Nigeria, especially this president that says the other room. He needs to get focused on that and say, look, if I really mean business,
it's
very demeaning. Yeah, very demeaning. We should start with him.
I find it very contradictory.
But we need to.
I find it very contradictory.
I don't know why you find it contradictory, because half the men I have to deal with in Nigeria are misogynists. They're like that.
That's true.
And I still have to deal with them.
You are
my gist out.
You are a fan of Zalzaru.
But if it's your gist, then we're flowing already.
Sorry. And the other, his opposition is worse than the other room, because he's as much a misogynist. Go ahead.
Let me land my point.
Okay, let us say.
The clock is ticking. So my point essentially is to say that Rwandan example is one we should all fix our eyes on, because they've done a lot. Women are constituting over 60% of the political parliaments, and that means we can achieve that here. It's a plus for everybody if you can get more women active in the political space, get their brains working, their skills to play. Since we all agree that there's no difference between a man and woman.
So what did they do in Rwanda?
To answer your Rwanda question, well, I'm not saying kill all the
we're
men,
200 million
but there was
Nigerians.
war. No, there was war.
That's a problem.
Right? There was war. There was tribal war, etc., etc. Of course, a lot of men died. A lot of horrible things happened. So the mindset, in order to rebuild the country.
Clearly. No. Let's just say that this. But there are 200 million Nigerians.
If you say the men need to die, let's look at our leaders, the majority. I didn't say that. Yes. I'm just going by what Liborous said. He's the lawyer.
And then the youth will say the older one.
Before they use it as a hashtag, misery, he said.
But I think there's a scale problem.
Yes.
Let's make sure
Nigeria is much bigger than Rwanda, so maybe it won't translate so directly because of size.
Gosh, that was fun. We went off track, but this is always a subject that's so broad.
You think we went off track.
There you go. The discussion could go on. After the break, Ekene brings us up on another vital matter.
You're watching The Advocate on PlusTVAfrica. Time to highlight a powerful truth. This week is Autism Awareness Week, and I thought it a good time to speak out on behalf of a group I can so identify with. Carers of children with special needs, and specifically autism. Sometimes the focus is on the person directly facing the challenge of disability, not appreciating that without supporting the carer, the child or person in question is not likely to get the quality of care they need. With over 18 years worth of experience as a parent of 2 children who have been offered a diagnosis of autism, allow me to highlight what might seem to be an obvious but often neglected dimension to this journey: the power of empathy. The challenge of being a carer of a person with autism is that the experience seems to have an isolating effect. The carer feels forced to live a secluded life because of what seems to be the antisocial fallout of the less than normal behavior of the dependent and the perceived social stigma attached. Added to which there's the dimension of living in fear, the fear of being overwhelmed by an experience that is bigger than one's ability to cope. The ability of others to come alongside, to listen and actually hear both the spoken and unspoken fears of the carer is priceless. Do not be presumptuous. The fact that your cousins, brothers, nephews was diagnosed with autism doesn't make you an expert. Every experience is different. Listen and actually hear. Do not rush to prefer solutions. It's a journey, not a sprint, where understanding and maturity of the carer is often a key prerequisite to making progress. Be courageous to stand with the carer and their dependent in the public space. Embrace their shame with them. This has the inexpressible effect of enlarging the world of the carer and their dependent and absorbing them into everyday society, as if the problem were no major impediment. Truly, my experience has taught me that empathy has the power to lift the heaviest burdens.
That's right, yeah.
That was touchy.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to ask a question because this, you and I have had a conversation about autism.
Yes.
And because you're talking about being empathetic to the carer or with the carer, when we had that conversation, how do you think I dealt with it? Because it's about education. No, it is, because I was talking to you about autism and stuff, and we're exchanging information or whatever, having a conversation. Remember, on the phone.
Okay, now I'm going to have to think about it.
On the phone.
I think
remember, and I asked you some questions.
Yeah.
Do you think I was empathetic? Because some people don't know. People will just ask questions. People will speak. They don't know whether they're not being empathetic because they will ask out of curiosity.
Yes.
So in my case, I was asking you some questions and I was telling you my friend's experience.
Yes.
So do you think
let me put it this way.
empathetic?
I felt talking with you, I felt like I was being given room to explore, even because a lot of times you don't know what you're thinking until someone asks you.
Good.
And that's how I would measure that you were being empathetic, because most times when people talk to you,
We were exploring.
you don't get a chance to even speak, because by the time you said one, maybe they're nervous, maybe they're feeling awkward. They immediately start throwing in advice, and referencing. So I felt I had a chance to talk about my experience. I felt in a way that allowed me to explore my own thoughts on the matter.
Right. Yeah.
So
and I think that conversation, because we were talking about something that was so important to both of us, but more so about you, for me, I think at that point, and this is where empathy is so powerful, and it can make such a huge change, where you said, what is the word you used at the end of your thing?
It lifts the heaviest
but is that at that point, I think after that conversation, I connected with you.
Okay.
In a way, because we hadn't been working together long.
Yeah.
I connected with you in a way that I hadn't done before, So,
Bravo.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Don't
see,
be so cheeky.
Yeah, you see. For me, we live in a society where, like you said, these things are not, we don't talk about them in public, we hide them. And so until I got to Lagos, where I now see people openly talk about this thing, and I read about it, I began to understand, what's about and what we should do, empathizing with the people. And then, like you said also, I have a few cousins who've been diagnosed with autism, and having to relate with them at that level. And then I read about what's this man's name in London that had this
Stephen Hawkins.
No, the Nigerian guy, the guy from the States, whose children, they are scholars in the UK. He was an autistic child, but he said his mother, as a young boy in Uromi then, his mother allowed him, you know, play with every other children, do what his mates were doing. You know, so for him, he didn't see himself
as different.
Yes. And his mother didn't see him as different.
Yes.
He saw him as normal, allowed him to.
Yeah.
And today, you know, so he also said that for him, he also allows his children, you know, to interact. And that was how he discovered that his children could be whatever they, you know, and so that also taught me, you know, a lot of things. Unlike those days where, you know, people would
hide them away.
To give an illustration of this empathy, not to hog the mic, but I remember recently, actually, we went to the village, and my dad said, you know, let's go to the church and everything. And I knew at that time my son was acting awkwardly, so I said to myself, the last thing I want to do is go to church. I was already feeling stressed. So I said to him, let me stay behind, you guys go, let me stay with my son. And he was like, no, he'll come with me. So he took him. So I just sat at the back of the church watching them, because my son was then, at that time, he seemed disoriented. He'll get up, he'll do all sorts of things. I knew he'd draw attention to himself. So I said, everybody's always making it seem as if I'm too concerned. Take the boy. So, you know, my dad so impressed me. I was close to tears, because he sat with this boy. The boy would get up at times. He'll say, sit down, sit down. And then he took him forward for Holy Communion, came back, also parading him like, this is my prize. And when he came out, I said to him, Dad, I'm so proud of you. I said to him, he said, what is it that, there's nothing.
When
people say, the boy is comfortable, and that was for me. He was embracing the boy, and he gave me a sense of strength.
I'm curious to hear from Uche, because as an aunt, you know, to one or two, should we say, how do you feel when, you know, the way people talk and the empathy that Ekene is talking about?
Yeah, for me, I love my niece and my nephew. They're gorgeous as far as I'm concerned. So I like to have any opportunity, you know, to spend time with them. So for me, I understand what Ekene is talking about. It's really all about empathy. I mean, this really wants, you know.
I completely, like what I'm saying here now, like you're reading Omorodion, yes. Omorodion's
That's
story.
his name?
Yes.
You got the name?
Yes, Omorodion's story. You know, he said just the way your dad behaved. You know, I think if our society is elevated to behaving that way, you know, all of this won't be a big problem. It won't be a big deal.
No, because you feel like everyone is part of one big family.
So you see these people as, look, it's normal. You know, but because we are not trained to see it from that perspective, and so we still and I understand.
But I actually had to give kudos to Nigerians again.
Exactly.
Because it's only when I came home with these children that I realized actually the social dimension is so crucial to the therapy we speak of. You know, because everybody talks to them, the gate man, the man, you know, because they don't just see them as human beings.
They don't see, and that's the thing in Nigeria. Sorry, I was waiting for Chuka to go before I come in.
At least from my experience. Seriously.
Yes, it certainly is.
My comment was going to be that we need to.
My friends
but here really,
with autism.
No, but here really
they brought them back from England.
It is that love, that care we have generally as African, being your neighbor's keeper.
But that's again also new. So they've brought their children back from England, and they've like, you know what? Because the gateman, the driver, most of the people, and I don't see the autism, they just see a child. It's like, oh yeah, get up now. Oh yeah, go and do now. Like you said, that guy said he's brain in the village. However, one thing that also we have to celebrate Nigeria for is the Autism Society in Nigeria. I don't know what the official name is for them. They've been doing a lot of work in recent years to promote awareness and educate
and you know,
the society. And it's changing.
And such kids are usually
we even have specialist schools, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Very, very
Sorry, we have to call it a break on this one. Certainly don't want to keep the conversation to ourselves. Time to hear from you. Air Vice Marshal Badebo says, on holding our newly elected politicians accountable, absolutely brilliant, particularly the point about them holding town hall meetings, because it creates more visibility for the representative and his campaign promises. Festus Okwekwe has a lot to say, so I'll read just a bit of it. He says concerning nurturing our children's talents, from my perspective, nothing can help harvest our children's talents as much as engagement. By engagement, I mean putting them through the constant practices of those things they would love to do. First of all, some children discover what they're good at when they are involved in doing things they like the case of this boy, Tani Tolua. Engaging them does not only help to reveal hidden talents, but also encourages mastery. Facilities should be put in place by the government, schools, parents, and individuals to encourage participation in various activities. Competitions in sports, music, writing, indoor games, etc., held constantly will encourage children to develop and nurture talents. We should also begin to have our competitions at local, state, and national level and make them more attractive. There are very many talented young writers, singers, players, etc., who are not in the limelight today because the stage has not been set for them. I'd have to leave it there and go on to the next contribution. On the matter of Brexit, Norma Shodipo writes, I like the way you related it to Nigeria. United we stand, divided we fall. I seem to prefer Britain out of the EU, though. Do join the conversation on Facebook, PlusTVAfrica, hashtag TheAdvocateNG, and on Instagram and Twitter at PlusTVAfrica, hashtag TheAdvocateNG. We look forward to hearing from you. Time to go on a quick break, and when we return, Uche will be challenging us on a matter of double standards.
Welcome to The Advocate, a program that thrashes out all the topical issues of the day.
When you are in government, you don't see nothing wrong with whatever is happening. The moment you are out there, everything is wrong.
You can't even see many women now, and when they're there, they're not even really making a mark, and then they have an NYSC problem and this and that.
One of the reasons why we don't have more women in politics in Nigeria is for as long as political meetings continue to take place in the middle of the night.
Exactly.
It's disastrous for a president
To even say
to be
he's unaware.
unaware of the chief
It's
justice.
a ploy.
It could be a strategy.
That strategy was very terrible strategy. Because the buck stops at your table.
Whether it's that we don't look after our cities, and quite frankly, Nigeria is becoming a very ugly place.
When you are the only one feeding the people with this news and there is nobody countering them, it becomes, the news.
You're watching The Advocate on PlusTVAfrica. Time to call a spade a spade. I recently came across the hashtag Surviving Cardi B. Now, for those of you that do not know, Cardi B is the latest female hip-hop sensation to sweep America. She was a stripper turned reality TV star turned rap star with a Grammy Award to boot. The hashtag came about when Cardi took to Instagram, as she often does, and revealed that she used to drug and rob men who wanted to have sex with her to survive back in the day. She also didn't appear to be remorseful. Of course, social media erupted, and many people pointed out that what she did was wrong and deserved jail time. Her actions were compared to the likes of Bill Cosby and R. Kelly, hence the hashtag. What surprised me, though, is that there are those who are defending this. Their defense is that she is off the streets, and this is what people do to survive, so we all need to get off our high moral ground and stop judging. Well, I say that no matter the circumstances, wrong is wrong. I'm convinced that if a man did what she did, the book would be thrown at him. So what exactly is going on here? Why isn't she being investigated? Is this a case of double standards? Where is the Me Too movement when you need it?
There's so much going on in
I'm
your
sure
topic.
you're looking at me. I'm so ready because I saw your post. I saw your message.
I was wondering
when
who Cardi
your
B
message,
was.
your response when she posted.
No,
I'm waiting.
Okay, let Liborous finish.
I was wondering who Cardi B was, but
Before
with
we
this,
started.
You now know she's a
I
top.
now know
She's a
most,
stripper.
and then
And
I
a
would.
rapper.
You see, this happens everywhere. Bring it back home.
Exactly.
Politics in Nigeria. Some of those things we vehemently condemned pre-2015. We willingly accept them now and excuse them away. So also you see this hypocrisy also being played out over there. But what can I say? But before you know it now, the feminist people...
It's not even a feminist issue for me. For me,
Because you're not a feminist. It is for me, and I want you to
please,
finish.
I'm keen to know where the feminist
No, I
issue
want you
comes
to
from.
finish.
Okay, but from my perspective, I think there's too much wrong here in terms of people not knowing where to draw the line in terms of public disclosure. You're trying to have your cake and eat it. Because when I read some of what she wrote, she was trying to say, well, everybody knows me, I'm real, I speak my mind, I'm who I am. I'm not thinking, which one do you want? You know, you're actually in the limelight, so you owe people some degree of role modeling. So you can't go out there, she has a daughter, she's married, she now wants to come clean. Maybe she's even trying to do, because that's a legal aspect. Maybe if later they found her guilty, it would spoil her fame. Maybe she's trying to out herself in advance. I'm not even sure what the strategy is.
She's a born again now.
But my own angle is this.
The born agains are much worse, so she's clearly not a born again.
If you go on social media or you go in the public space, it's like inviting someone into your house and you haven't put your house in order. So why are you airing your dirty linen in public? Don't you know enough to say, what is the aim of my saying this? Am I trying to say I'm reformed, this is wrong? What are you trying to say?
Well,
the message is unclear.
Let me at least put it a little bit in context.
Just to ventilate
this was 3 years ago, you know, when she did this video.
Thank you.
It just came to, you know, it was like it came back to haunt her.
Okay.
But it was, the fact of the matter is, the problem I still had with her was when it did come back to haunt her, she was still kind of like, well, you know, matter of fact, that's just...
No, but I need to let you finish because you're actually you're both actually misrepresenting her. So your research stopped at one point.
Uche,
you didn't go. Yes, again.
No, I'm saying at what?
No,
Uche,
let them finish. I want them to
legally
finish before I
speaking,
come
really,
in.
Let's see the men come out. You know, and
Okay, they started coming out. They actually started coming out.
Liborous, I will shake your hand. And that
started coming out.
That is
came out.
not true.
And
Uche,
no, hang on. Sorry, let me say that.
My love.
2 came out, and one of them actually said, "Look, he knows that nothing will even come of it."
Oh my God!
Yes,
No, but let's see the press.
No.
Childhood.
All right, you go
Sorry,
for it.
Chuka. You go so that I can set the record.
No, set the record straight.
As far as I'm
let him
concerned,
press charges and then see that something didn't.
as far as I'm concerned, nothing should come of this because for very long, men have been messing about, and as far as I'm concerned, I look at this rather more simply that she has taught a few men
But
lessons.
it's wrong.
Oh my God! How can I reach over and
But it's wrong behavior.
No.
Don't become right.
What were you doing? What were you doing when you were trying a fast one on the Cardi B?
Thank you. No, hold on. Okay, this is the time she said the record straight.
It's an exchange, and it's an under table exchange.
This is
so I think anything that happens.
This is my opportunity. This is my opportunity to set the record straight.
Legally speaking, also. You
not legally.
Legally speaking, a lady agrees to have intimacy with you, and then you get
in exchange for
you get to the room and then she drugs you, and then steal your money.
Yeah, that's exactly.
That's an offense.
Correct.
So let me just set the record straight before we run out of time.
We're not talking about
for me, I know the legal whatever. She can go to jail, whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, everybody's missing one thing. It's the context. When some people come at you, you know this is a bad boy from the beginning and all that. I'm sorry, bad boys.
Are bad boys.
Are bad boys.
Now, let me just set the record. Hold on, look. Madam, 2 wrongs don't make a right. First of all, you clearly, right? I'm not here to hold court for Cardi B, but your research actually was not deep.
Incomplete.
It's totally incomplete. So here's the first thing. One thing which is correct about is the fact that she had this interview 3 years ago. Right. The 2 people that you said came up, one of them came up many years ago after she had the interview. The other person that came up is a Nigerian boy who actually put it out as a joke on Facebook, and he since come out and said, actually, I was only joking. Quote, any man that allows such a thing to happen to them is a fool. So that's one. So that dispels that. Allow me.
Exactly.
So it's about research and not falling for the surface. Now, Cardi B did come out on her handle, on her Instagram handle, and said, look, there's a video I did 3 years ago where I said certain things which I am not proud about, which is why I never use them in my lyrics. She said, but we all have a past. She also went as far as to say, these were men that I was involved with, not just men. Do you understand?
So why drug and rob them?
Hold on. So she's saying that.
You want to change your position?
Hold on, let me finish.
Your position is changing.
No. She said she went back. She went as far as to say, she said these were men that I was involved with, as in boyfriend and girlfriend.
A bad girl,
yeah, she's a very bad girl. So I'm not here to hold court for her. Now here's what I will come in. Right. Me Too has nothing to do with this. Like Liborous rightly said, Me Too, nobody has come along and pressed charges. Nobody has said, oh, you know, I'm going to put in an official complaint, or what's that thing they do in America? Civil, what's that, when they sue them, a civil lawsuit against her. Nobody has come there. So you have to stop.
I have to
let me finish.
No,
let me
please.
finish.
You can carry on.
No, I waited.
Okay, go on.
You know, you have to stop finding and using and clawing onto any opportunity to disparage and demean the work that you two is actually doing. I mean, me too is actually doing for millions of women who never had a voice.
Right, absolutely.
You need to stop this.
No, I don't need to stop it. I don't need to
Cardi
stop
B
it.
has nothing to do with me too.
You pointed
Which part of it?
You
pointed out. You said that that there's no charges have been
nobody's
been charged and all of that. Well,
nobody went to the police.
It doesn't even matter.
It does.
No, listen,
wait, let's hear her
the
out.
point of the Me Too movement, the reason why I'm raising is because the Me Too movement that I have so far seen is as soon as somebody says something, oh, a man assaulted me, blah, blah, you find that those people behind the Me Too movement are constantly, they're up in arms, oh yes, all men are terrible, remove them this time. Yes, they do that. That's exactly what's happening.
Yet again, your argument lacks insights because
it does not lack
and I'll tell you why. Just like the way you are jumping on the Cardi B retweet. On the Cardi B retweet. People jump on the retweet without actually doing the proper investigation.
I have read it
not the fault of
let me settle the two of you.
Even her message, even her reply or whatever you want to call it, I still wasn't impressed.
You don't have to be. It doesn't matter whether you're impressed. Her truth is her truth. Her fact is her fact. Your past is your past. Her past is her past.
Yeah,
get over it.
This matter. The women have me too. Let the men have you too.
No, that's what I want. I want the men to rise up and have their men too.
It doesn't matter.
But
it doesn't matter. But don't go out of your way to
wait. Now let one person speak so we can hear what you're saying.
The point of what I'm saying here is that wrong is wrong.
Yes.
And I think we really need to get...
We all agree on that.
No, we don't. Chuka doesn't.
Yes, we do. No, Chuka does.
Chuka has changed his mind long ago.
Exactly. And like
Chuka heard the truth
until somebody makes an official complaint to the
general
I think I might have to.
Me too.
If
has
nobody
nothing
wants to
do with
complain
this.
about Cardi B, I think I
And
might
Me
have
Too
to.
actually also supports men, by the way. Remember the guy...
This is why I said, where is the Me Too movement? You're bringing...
No, but the guy pressed charges. Everybody that's been supported by Me Too pressed charges.
Okay.
So you need to get the facts straight about Me Too.
Okay. I imagine, in fact, I'm not even imagining, it ruffled some feathers.
You're actually quite right.
It was bound to.
Chuka has plans to push us even further outside our comfort zone after the break.
You're watching The Advocate on PlusTVAfrica. Time to ditch the psychological crutches. So often, we find people feeling the need to quote from, perhaps, well-known authors to substantiate their point. Does this give more credibility to what one is saying? Some quote from the Bible, just to let you know something so simple as that if you try again, you will more than likely succeed. Some quote Hollywood stars to get a point across. Others quote past US presidents. Notice that they never quote themselves. When they act in a questionable manner, they reply that someone famous, living or dead, acted in the same way. It is now so rampant that there is clearly herd mentality in the practice. What validation do we seek, and why is it so important? Especially when you yourself are dishing out intelligent stuff. Why have we each in turn pressurized the other to feel too small to speak up? While this strategy is sometimes useful, let us be measured in our deployment of that method. It makes lectures and writings tedious, longer, and tiring. Surely it is more attractive to speak up without help that you do not need. For some, the silliness of their contributions become amplified when they resort to ill-fitting examples to buttress their point. Let's just say what we mean and mean what we say.
According to Emperor Bukasa of Central African Republic, he said, and I quote,
because Liborous likes his quote.
Yes.
Lawyers
do.
Because they do it in their precedent.
Yes.
But the
I was
rest
going
of
to
us,
say, part of why I said
in
my mind, I thought this guy is up the creek without a paddle is because everything we do is based on precedent. Legal, the whole, everything you do is based on inherited knowledge, and then sometimes you find, which is why when I heard you say it again, I thought, okay, actually, yes, you didn't entirely dismiss it, so let me not be too harsh.
That's true.
Because I'm just thinking, if we're all here together and we have something in common, which is a knowledge we all share, like we're referring to Fela or something, and we say, suffering and smiling, and everybody immediately keys into that, it makes it easy. I don't have to talk too long. I don't have to start explaining myself. You know what I mean? And, so really, I don't have a problem with it, except maybe you've listened to too many lectures where
I have.
I think
exactly. Yeah, I agree completely also. Like Chuka has said, in some cases it's useful, but there are some people they take it completely out of. You know, you read a whole chapter. You know, is in the words of Frank Fanon, in the words of Julius Caesar. In the words, you know, you could have as well just said this thing. You know, in everyday words. He who has the light, let him lead the way. You must not refer to.
I like it. I don't know. I like it.
For me too.
No,
you know, but in some cases, there is no way you can avoid
preference.
Those preferences. It's you know, you just can't avoid them. It's like saying what Chuka said without giving credit to Chuka. You know, so you give credit to some of these people who are known, who some of these words are known to originate from them. You know, so it's
part of life.
But sorry, darling, I agree with Chuka to an extent. I think there's definitely some form of inferiority complex going on here.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, because I look at it and I'm like, okay, you can simply say that you said this, but a lot of people think, they can't say that because what if someone disagrees with them? So they now say, Roosevelt Franklin said, you know, and it's like, go and disagree with Roosevelt Franklin. Meanwhile, that's what they think. So,
and it's like it's law.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely there's an inferiority complex.
No, but like, sorry, for Nnamdi Azikiwe, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe said, when two incompatible mates in discussing the federal structure of Nigeria, when two incompatible mates, they can coexist if only they agree on certain issues. No, wait, what I'm saying is, if I say it now,
it ends all debates.
No,
it's
people
in context of...
People will say Liborous said, not knowing that Liborous quoted from somebody.
But he's even saying say it in your own words, rather than even quote him. He's even saying, because don't quote him.
Don't quote him.
Like words like that. How do I say it in my own words?
You need to discover it.
If I can't come in immediately and I have to reference somebody, I will definitely give credit to the man.
He's not against your credit.
But I think
I'm not against your credit.
With Chuka's thing, I'm a bit, for once in my life, I'm sitting on, or for once on this show, I'm sitting on the fence. On one hand, I totally agree with Chuka, and I think, like everything in this country, it's always overdone, right? And often it boils down to a lack of confidence, a lack of conviction, and a lack of research. So you quote a passage, a bit, just that people use, Bible verses and whatever, without actually having investigated that verse, that passage, or whatever, and in order to validate what is effectively a very shallow point. Okay, so that's what I find. But however, on the other side, I do find it somewhat, I'm one that likes literature and I like language. And when the right person uses the right quote...
I'm like, come on.
No, I even prefer African leaders. But when or Shakespeare, when you use the right quote and you're trying to romance me, and I'm like, yeah, go on, keep going.
And then, no wonder your voice has changed.
Can we stay on the phone?
No, but I think we also...
do you understand?
I just want to make the added point that I don't think you can necessarily even put the biblical references on the same platform, and it may not. This may not be the occasion to delve into that. Simply because it's not. And this way I'll say you're saying it with limited understanding. Sorry to say, I don't tend to say that, but it's because most times when people are using biblical references, they're trying to identify, like a bit like your talk about Israel. There's something a lot more going on that you may not appreciate. So the person is not, because the Bible, for example,
but they use it out of context.
Out of context is the same, yes. But I'm trying to say that you're never going to get the person who wants to quote the Bible to stop, because they actually want to quote it more. If they could, the Bible says, "Speak as the oracle of God." So they want to speak as though God were speaking.
But
so that's
for example.
I'm not sorry. Every yellow page is not
what can I say?
Sorry. Take for example, with man nothing is impossible, but with God all things are possible. You're
never going to win that one.
No, really. You see some people. Like Ireti had said, depending on the discussion, you just bring in, some of these things out of
more
context.
Than a conqueror.
Yes, you bring the Bible said.
Yes.
My Bible said. My Bible. Yes. You can still say in some
what you want to say without
what you want to say.
This just
without
reminds me.
So if you are referencing, like I talked about referencing, you can reference.
What's the problem with referencing the Bible? You want to reference the Bible.
But if, for example, I am saying, look, there's a problem.
Yeah.
and I feel, look, don't worry, I will overcome. It's normal.
Yeah.
I really don't have to go reference.
Genesis
What if you want
verse,
to? Is there anything wrong with that? Why are you stopping people?
Why do you
Issue their own?
You're beginning to...
You know why? Like I told you,
The Bible verses are
if you
overused.
come to my office for a business transaction and you put the Bible first before me,
In fact,
I will be suspicious.
I agree with you, Liborous, and I agree with Chuka. I would
So
be
people put
totally,
Bible
I'm
first.
actually very suspicious of those who use
Let's-
biblical
let's-
No, fair enough. People may abuse
I'm
it, but you won't say because people
Whether they
abuse
abuse it or
something
not-
that you won't let someone exercise their right.
Don't preach at me. It's a Thursday.
Okay,
Right?
each
Keep it
their
till
own, but it's
Sunday,
fine.
and I'll make my way.
Well, I think there might be a
No, today is Sunday.
Today is Sunday.
So she can preach.
Yeah. But Uche was going to say something actually.
No, I was actually going to say that, people that
Live and
use
let live.
lots of quotes, crack me up because they remind me of people that, say for instance, there's a smell in the room rather than they say, oh, I smell that, there's I perceive.
or something.
You know what to do? There are people who have swallowed. They swallow things.